My first guitar was an Epiphone Les Paul Jr. Special. Now, typically when you mention Epiphone and Les Paul Jr., you think of a bolt-on neck with the cheapest components possible that's typically at $100 or less, and they're kind of your first guitar, your starter guitar that you quickly move on from. So I had a similar story. I had that Epiphone Les Paul Jr. and pretty quickly I moved on from that guitar. But my love of Les Paul Jr.'s never really went away. So when I saw this one come up on Facebook Marketplace, I couldn't help myself. This is an Epiphone Les Paul Jr. 57 Reissue. Today we're going to talk about why this guitar is so great and why you should be on the lookout for one if at all possible. So stick around. When you think of a great electric guitar, mid-2000s Epiphones usually don't come to mind, but this is kind of an anomaly in the Epiphone canon for a couple reasons. This is a 57 reissue model, which means it has a neck-through design instead of the bolt-on neck that you'll typically see with Epiphone Juniors. And that just kind of gives it a much more traditional, kind of elevated look and feel with this guitar. Now this guitar also has a really chunky, good feeling neck. It feels a lot like the typical Gibson neck. Now another great thing about these Epiphone Les Paul Juniors, the 57 reissues, is they're really good platforms to mod because the structure is already there. You've already got the neck through design. This is a solid mahogany body, a mahogany neck with a rosewood fingerboard. And so from there, you can make this guitar whatever you want. Now these guitars typically come with a P100, and P100s are kind of P90 looking, but they're humbuckers, they're stacked P90s. So the first thing I did was change out the pickup to a traditional P90. I wanted the P90 sound, I wanted that traditional feel, so I changed the pickup out to a Geppetto P90 dog ear. The next thing I did was change out the electronics. Now this is a super simple mod because this guitar has the electronics cavity. There's just two pots that you need to change. So I quickly changed those to a tone and a volume with a push-pull knob. Now what that push-pull knob does is it bypasses the tone. So I wanted to give my guitar just a little bit more oomph, a little bit more on the front end, and so I installed that for when I really want to just kind of add just a hair more than what I'm getting. The final thing I did was I added some Kluson vintage tuners just to kind of make this a traditional looking, styling, feeling guitar. Now typically for a new Gibson Les Paul Jr., you're gonna pay anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. On the used market, maybe you can find one under $1,000 if you wait for the right one to come along and you really look, but you're gonna be searching for a while. I bought this guitar for under $300 and then did all the modifications myself. So for under 500 bucks, I have a neck through design Gibson Les Paul Jr. style guitar that plays great, sounds great, feels great, and it's not gonna break the bank. And that's important for me because I'm not a lead player, and this is kind of a specific guitar for getting a certain sound out. And if I'm not gonna be playing lead, you know, I can't justify spending $1,000 on a Gibson. So this is a great alternative for folks who are looking for the Gibson Les Paul Jr. sound. Now these guitars came in a couple different finishes. It came in this sunburst type finish and also came in a TV yellow. Both of them are great, but I kind of like the sunburst better. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. I met the guy and it was an easy transaction for a great guitar. So there you go, guys. If you're on the hunt for a Gibson Les Paul Jr., maybe check one of these Epiphones out. Who knows, you might be surprised. All right, let's talk about what I've been listening to this week. So this week, I've actually been listening to Cocaine and Rhinestones, which is a podcast about 20th century country music by Tyler Mahan Co. Now, there's been a lot made of the George and Tammy miniseries that came out on Showtime, and to be honest with you, I really don't have any interest in watching it because it probably differs so much from the actual George and Tammy story. But Tyler Mahan Co. does a fantastic job of laying out the George Jones saga and his second season of Cocaine and Rhinestones. So I've been going back and listening to that podcast. There's so much great music. There's so much in-depth detail about the players and the Nashville sound and what was going on in country music during that time. It's just a fantastic podcast. So if you're looking for podcasts to listen to, you love music, even if you don't love country music, this is a great dive into the stories and the characters that made so much of the great music from the 20th century. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think about the Epiphone Les Paul Jr. 57 reissue. And if you've ever played one, what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.